Hello, my name's Karen Holford, and I'm the Family Ministry Director, Children's Ministries and Women's Ministries Director for the Trans-European Division. I'm also a family therapist and a psychologist, and I'm very interested in positive psychology and how we can use positive psychology to help us in the challenges of life, because there's so many of those. So I'm going to explain something that will help you protect against burnout. It's not the full solution, but it can be really helpful in helping you to balance your emotions when things are difficult. And it's been enormously helpful to me in my life. I've been stressed out, possibly even burnt out. But once I learned how to manage my emotions better, it certainly has made a significant difference to my positive emotions, my joy in my work, and it's really reduced my risk of burnout over the years. So I just want to share these ideas with you in case they're helpful, because they're actually all really simple. They're things that you already do, and it's just knowing when and how to use them well to balance your emotions when you need to. When we think about Paul and his letter to the Philippians and his friends in Philippi, he was actually in jail. He was awaiting execution, and yet his letter to his friends in Philippi is just amazing. I love to read this letter. It's so encouraging. And when I looked at the end of his letter, what I realized was that he's actually writing how he is managing the situation where he is in jail, he's on death row, he's going to be executed at some point, and yet he is so joyful, he's so positive. And in chapter 4, he explains some of his reasons why he manages to stay so emotionally well-balanced in a really difficult situation. So we read some of his positive choices. He makes positive choices to experience positive emotions, and we can learn from that. He says, praise God and be happy that he loves you, because no matter what is happening to you, God is always loving, and we can praise him for that love that's constant. We can give our worries to God in prayer and let him take care of them rather than feel we have to carry them all around, because there's lots of things in our life we worry about. We can't do anything about it. And God can take care of things. Just give them to him. And then he said, experience peace. Fill yourself with the peace of God. And we can do that when we look at his creation, when we're filled with wonder. Because Jesus said, don't be anxious. Look at the flowers, look at the birds, and see how God cares for them. So Jesus also gave us this way of looking at God's creation, to be filled with wonder at how the flowers grow and how the birds are taken care of, to know that we are much more valuable than them and God takes care of us. He says, be kind and gentle to others. Let your gentleness be evident to all. So in all your relationships, be kind. And we now know that kindness is a great contributor to our own happiness. When we're kind to others, it makes them happy, it makes us happy. Even if we only imagine being kind to someone or think that's a kind idea, I'd like to do it, it has a blessing. It releases oxytocin in our brain that makes us feel good and happy. And then he says, focus your thoughts on positive things, whatever things are beautiful, lovely, etc. These are some of the principles he puts into chapter 4. And amazingly, 2,000 years later, when positive psychologists looked at what helps the brain to flourish and do well, they identified many of these things that Paul has said and added some extra ones that I'm sure Paul did, but he just didn't write in the letter. So when we think about emotions, and I will talk about positive and negative emotions, they're not that negative emotions are bad. They are ones that drain us, drain our emotional bank account. And positive emotions are those that fill our emotional bank account and top us up. And in order to be healthy and survive and ride the ups and downs of life without burning out, we need to have a lot more positive emotions in our life to help balance the negative ones. I also think about positive emotions being the emotions of heaven, of Eden, the ones that we were created to experience. And the negative emotions are those that we need to have to actually manage a complex world that's broken. So we need to be able to grieve what we've lost. We need to, stress helps us to make plans and sort our life out a bit better. There are responses to the broken things that hurt us that we need to be aware of. So they're important information to our brains and our bodies and our life, these complex emotions. But the positive emotions will help us to deal with the negative stuff and rebalance them so that we don't get overwhelmed by the negative emotions, because when we do, we're more likely to tip into a depression and a burnout. So it's how we balance these different experiences and how we are intentional about choosing to do things that will help us. Paul even says in Philippians 4, you would do well if you do what I do. He says, copy me, do these things. It will help you in your life if you understand how to balance your emotions and the difficult circumstances of life. When we choose how our emotions, when we intentionally experience positive emotions, which for me was quite a revelation, I just thought I felt stuff. I never thought about I can choose to feel something different. Life happens. We will respond with an emotion. We can't help those emotions. But once that's happened, we can then make a choice. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to rebalance? So we can choose to experience the positive emotions to kind of be the antidote to the negative things that we're feeling. So when we have emotions, positive emotions, they will give us more positive thoughts and lead to more positive behaviors, which also help with our emotions. So there's a positive connection between positive emotions, healthy thoughts, and behaviors. But when we are overwhelmed with negative emotions, we're more likely to have negative thoughts, and it's expressed in negative behaviors we'd rather not do, and ones that are troublesome. So when we choose positive emotions, we can affect our thoughts and our behavior and help us in all the aspects of our life. It's a bit like sailing a boat on a sea. I used to sail with my father when I was young, and I'd enjoy sailing on the sea at Aberdaron Camp, where he taught the young people to sail. And life has many ups and downs, and they're like the waves on the ocean. If we have too many negative emotions, we get dragged down into the water. The boat feels heavy and sluggish, and the water comes over the side, and the ride isn't so much fun. But if we have positive emotions, they're like the wind in the sails, which can help you to glide and ride over the ups and downs of life and give you a more happier experience. Positive emotions are really important for us. It's not just the icing on the cake. It's not just something extra when we can manage it. They help to broaden our minds. They help us to think more widely, open our minds up to new possibilities, and even open the minds up to God and positive experiences of His giftedness in our lives. Positive emotions help us to recover from stress. So if we've had a difficult time and we've had lots of negative emotions for whatever reason, the positive ones can help to reset us and rebalance us and lift us out of the stressful. They soothe us and bless us because they tend to stimulate oxytocin, which is a really good, feel-good, healthy, happy hormone, which helps us to have better relationships and more joy. Positive emotions help us to build resilience. So the more of those we have, it makes us actually more resilient when something negative or difficult happens, because we're more strengthened by the positive emotions to deal with the rough stuff. And when we have positive emotions, they help us to be more loving to others and be more lovable people ourselves. So they have a big effect on our life when we can experience positive emotions. And when children experience positive emotions, they're much better able to learn and to work well and to have happier relationships. It has a major effect on their well-being. When we look at emotional balance and think about that, most people have a 2-to-1 ratio of positive to negative emotions. And when I first heard that, I thought, well, that's pretty good. If we're feeling positive emotions twice as much as negative, we must be very happy. But actually, we do better when the ratio is at least 3-to-1. So when the positive emotions are 3-to-1 rather than 2-to-1. It's difficult to explain how we work out this ratio, but it's basically looking at the 10 most common positive emotions and the 10 most common negative emotions and saying, how much of each one have you experienced in the last 24 hours? A little, a lot, or nothing. And so as you scale that, you can work out a balance, and positivityratio.com online will help you work this out. But basically, the more positive emotions we choose to experience, then the better our emotional health and well-being, and the less likely we are to experience a burnout. So what are some of the negative emotions that prevent us from living happy, hopeful, loved and satisfied lives? Those ones that come from living in a broken world that can drag us down. And I'm just going to quickly go through these. There's anger, contempt. Contempt for others is actually very toxic to us, and it lowers our immunity and causes all sorts of problems. Disgust, which is going at something that smells or looks or tastes horrible, and it's there to protect us from doing things that might poison us or infect us. Embarrassment is when something that we've done wrong is made public and we feel embarrassed. Fear is we're in a situation that we don't think we're going to handle well, or when we feel that we're in danger. Frustration is when we're doing our best and someone comes along and criticizes us, or we have a goal and something gets in the way of that goal. Anger can sometimes come from a blocked goal or being misunderstood as well. Then we have guilt, a feeling that I've done something wrong, I've hurt somebody and I feel really bad about it. And it's good to apologize the same day. If we carry this guilt of a broken relationship or the pain of it, and we go to sleep on it without mending it, it can actually have a negative effect on our emotional well-being and lead to distress and depression and anxiety. Sadness is a response to loss of any kind in our life. And it's not just losing those we love. It can be a loss of hope, a disappointment in life as well. Shame is when other people talk about us or do things to us that make us feel ashamed. And then there's stress, which is when we feel we've got more things on our plate than we can manage. And that's to help us invite people to help us to find another solution. All of these emotions that we have, negative and positive, are there to help us connect with others, to resolve problems, to celebrate together, to comfort one another, to ask for forgiveness. So they help in relationships, their communication within our body to help us know what to do next and to manage the complexity of our lives. So what are the positive emotions? These are the wonderful ones that help us to live happy, hopeful, loved and satisfied lives. And these are what I think are the emotions we were intended to experience when we were first created, the emotions of heaven and Eden. And they're amusement and laughter, gratitude, inspiration, joy, serenity, hope, having an interest or a hobby, feeling valued by others, experiencing awe and wonder and love. An interest and hobby is an interesting one because I would never have thought that was a positive emotion. But also Adam and Eve were given the garden to look after. God knew they needed something to do to give them an interest and activity and purpose in life. And so that was an important part of their well-being as well. So let's have a look at some of these positive emotions, the biblical basis for them, and also how do we put them into action in simple ways in our life. Because when we have a little menu of these that we can use, then it can really help us when we've had a stressful time. For example, I work at the Trans-European Division. I love it with all my heart, but there are days that challenges come in, or there is a lot to do, or something might be provoking a bit of anxiety or stress. And when I'm on the bus on the way home, I do several things to help me rebalance my emotions. I will think of 5 things I want to thank God for. I will look out the window and find something in creation to be filled with wonder at. Quite often it's the sky. The sky itself is very beautiful many of the times, or the flowers in the forest, or something else I might see, or even my own hand fills me with wonder. So I look for something that fills me with wonder. I maybe look at something on my phone that will make me laugh, and I get off the bus a bit early to have a nice walk down a prettier route. I look for something of wonder to take a photograph of. I listen to some nice music or a good podcast. And in just the 45 minutes it takes to get home, I do things that will build me up positively. And when I get home, I find I'm much less stressed and more relaxed for the evening. If there's work to be done, I'm in a better place for it, and I'm a nicer person to be with at dinner. So it's just intentionally making those choices to do things that I know will help me to feel good, to relax, to deal with my stress and put me in a more positive place. So the first one I'm going to talk about is amusement and laughter. And the Bible says a cheerful heart is good medicine, and it really is. When we laugh at something, it's really beneficial to us. It releases oxytocin. It helps us connect positively with others. And we can do this by describing something funny that happened to us. We used to do that in our home when our children were at home. We'd just share funny stories at the dinner table. We can watch a funny movie or just a funny YouTube clip or a little joke on Instagram, just something that will make us laugh. We can look at amusing greeting cards. We have a collection in our house of funny greeting cards, and we look at those from time to time and have a good laugh about them. So whatever it is that makes you laugh, make sure you can build that into your life somewhere. Then there's awe and wonder. There's a sense of wonder about something beautiful in nature or something amazing in another person. And in the Psalm 104, it says, "How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures." And when we look in awe at what God has done in his wisdom, it just is amazing to us. So experience awe and wonder whenever you can. Look at the world through eyes of wonder. Slow down. Really look at a flower. I mean, God made every part of it. He put them together in that amazing way. And often we just say, nice flower. But actually, have you really looked at how God constructed it, put the pieces together, how it works, the fragrance that it has, the colors, how it comes from a seed? This is just awesome. You can go and lie on a blanket and look up at the stars in the sky, especially in the summer, and just see, wow, this is amazing, the beauty of the universe around us. Look for details that you've never noticed before and be amazed at them. So take the time to experience wonder around you. Pause, listen to the bird song, go and experience a tree with your senses, smell it, and listen to the leaves rustle and touch it. When we have experiences of awe in nature, it really is very good for us. Gratitude is a vital part of our well-being. The more grateful we are, then the less anxiety we have, because our brains actually can't be thankful and anxious at the same time. So when we pause to have moments of gratitude or go through the alphabet and name things beginning with each letter that we're thankful for, or walk into a room and thank God for every single detail in there that we've never thanked him for before, then that can really help us to have positive experience and lower our anxiety. And you know what? If you're in your living room and you find something you're not thankful for, maybe just give it away to somebody else, and that will also help you to feel good. You can start a gratitude diary. And when my husband and I were first married many years ago, before anyone ever told us about gratitude diaries, we were poor students at Andrews University, and we still have the little diary where every day we wrote 3 things to thank God for, and that was amazing. So gratitude is so important, whether we're thanking God or thanking each other. It blesses our heart and helps to lower our anxiety. Hope is the belief that things can and will change and improve, and those who hope on the Lord will renew their strength, it says in Isaiah. We always need to have something to look forward to, something that gives us hope. What gives you hope? What Bible verses give you hope? What experiences have you had in the past that give you hope for the future? Always have something to think about, that you can plan the fun time or have a celebration or a treat to look forward to. After I've done this presentation and had the recording, my husband and I are going to go out on a special time together to a National Trust property, and we're going to enjoy that. And we know we've been looking forward to that because we planned it for several weeks now. So having these things to look forward to can be really beneficial. What about Sabbath? Is your Sabbath a day to look forward to? If you have a busy family because of ministry, what time in the week can you look forward to, all of you together, when you can be together, do something fun, connect, and always have that to keep you hopeful and looking forward? Inspiration is being inspired by God or by spiritual insights, recognizing excellence in others. And Paul says in Philippians 4, whatever is true or noble or right or pure or lovely or admirable, if it's excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. So focus on things that fill your mind with positive thoughts. If the news gets you down, don't read the news, read something more positive. So choose what you think about so that it inspires you and lifts you up and doesn't drag you down. Think of someone in the Bible or in history who really inspired you in your life. Describe who they are and how they have inspired you. Look at the other things that inspire you. Maybe it's art, maybe it's music, maybe it's a special story in the Bible. How do you inspire others too? Because you can be an inspiration. Think about those around you that you can inspire, because that will also help them to experience inspiration. Then there's interest, this unusual emotion of doing something that we just really love to do, and we lose ourselves completely in the moment. It might be reading a book, going for a run, playing a violin, doing some artwork. Whatever it is that is interesting to you, it's really useful to have a hobby, and because a hobby can protect you from the distresses. The reason is because when we get fully absorbed in something we love to do and enjoy, then we're distracted from the worries. And that's so good for us. It kind of breaks the track in our brain that gets stuck on a groove of worry and anxiety. So having something to do that absorbs all your interest and your mind, and that gives you a break from the worry and all the things you're doing in your work and ministry, then it's really beneficial for your well-being. So what are your favorite off-screen hobbies? I hope you have some. And what positive emotions that I've shared do you experience when you do this hobby? Because in that hobby, we might experience awe and wonder, or we might be doing kind things for others, and they can bless us as well, or they may make us laugh. So what new hobbies would you like to try? Make sure you have something that you do, even if it's just 5 minutes a week or 10 minutes a day, that you do that you really love, that will help you to have a brain break and just enjoy the flow of that experience. Joy is feeling happy, delight, and freedom. And in Philippians, it also says, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. What makes you rejoice? Think about the happiest moment in your past week, or even the happiest moment in your day. Focus on it. Share it with your spouse or your family in the evening and talk together about the happiest moment in your day and celebrate them together. Rejoice with those who rejoice. There's also having a healthy sense of purpose and value. Do you feel that what you do is valued by others? And particularly if people are being critical, it can be very difficult to feel this sense of value and purpose. It's a satisfaction in a job well done, regardless of what other people say. You think, that sermon was well prepared and well presented. I had a good visit with this church member. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, working for the Lord and not for men, says Paul to Colossians. Something that's really useful to do at the end of each day is to list 3 things that went well and focus on them, because actually we're doing things well, I think, about 95% of the time. Most of us do really good at doing things really well. And whatever comes to our hand, we do it well. But the problem is, if we're tired and we've had a long day or things aren't going so well, when we go to bed, we'll just think of all the things that went wrong, and we'll magnify them in our mind and thoughts. And when we go to bed and go to sleep with those big worries churning around in our brain, the things that we think we did wrong, then that can be really unhelpful for us. So think about what you did well and help others to think about what they did well as well. However tiny, just think of 3 things that went well. Focus on them and thank God for how he helped you to do those well. Serenity is a feeling of peacefulness, stillness, calm, and contentment. And in Philippians 4, Paul says, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So when we can think about the peace of God, when we can give him our worries and just let his peace flood our soul, it's so good for our hearts and our minds, says Paul, and he knows this. So how do we experience peace and serenity? Because we have such busy lives. Is there a place where you can just sit quietly, be peaceful and pray in your busy lives? Maybe as you travel around in your ministry, there's a special park you like to go and sit and eat your lunch or walk around. When you're stressed, even sipping a drink of cool water can help your breathing change to calm you down a little bit. Smelling things, even like lavender, like citrus, like baking bread, can also calm us, or have some soothing music, maybe a soothing worshipful playlist on your phone or in your car, or just focus on a Bible verse. I like to focus on the Bible verse that says, be still and know that I am God, and just breathe quietly where I tell myself that. I can be still and I can relax because I know God is in control. And whatever seems to be messy down here, God is taking care of it. And it's about him and not me. And that's such a soothing verse for me in all situations. And something else that I found to do accidentally when my children were young and I was really stressed out, and I said to my husband, can you just watch the kids for a while? I just need to take a break. I went out into the garden, and there on the picnic table was a bottle of their bubbles. And I just started to absent-mindedly blow some bubbles. And I took some deep breaths and tried to blow a big bubble and just played with them for a while. And I realized that suddenly I felt really peaceful. And I realized that the breathing that I do when I blow bubbles with a deep breath in and then a slow breath out is actually really soothing. And this is a natural thing we can do anywhere to find calm again. It's a way that God has built into our bodies. And we take a deep breath in and then blow out slowly. then it calms us. And only 3 of those I find will really reset me and calm me down when I'm in a stressful situation. So be aware of that our breathing can actually help to be part of giving us peace. And as we do that, we can pray. If you blow some real bubbles, it's also kind of fun to watch them blow away, and there's joyfulness in that as well. So find what it is that calms you when you had a stressful day. Maybe it's taking a bath, going for a walk, whatever it is, a nice cup of hot chocolate or your favorite fruit tea, whatever, and use those moments just to be still and calm and empty your minds just so you can be at peace with God and just experience His peace. Love is a blend of these other positive emotions within a warm, close, safe and caring relationship. So all of these emotions that I've expressed, they're really nice when you can do them together, when you can experience a moment of wonder with a spouse or a child, or be kind to one another, or do an interesting hobby together. So the togetherness adds extra value to the positive emotion. And love is kind. Whenever we're kind to others, we feel happier too. We're wired that way. And I believe God has wired us that when we're kind, we are blessed, so that when we give, we receive as well, to help reinforce kindness in our relationships. So plan kind things to do. And if you know someone who's feeling a bit down or discouraged, maybe a church member who's struggling, invite them to do something kind with you, or to come along with you when you're doing something kind for someone else. Because when they participate in that process, it will help them to feel a little happier too. So in our life, we can choose to make happy and healthy choices about our emotions. And the more often we can intentionally choose to experience one of these positive emotions, the better it is for us. So find out what works for you. Like I have my little menu that I do on the way home. Use them in your life. Perhaps when you're coming back from your last visit, or you're traveling home around 6 o'clock, check in with yourself and think, what was today like? Am I feeling, that was really heavy? And if it is, then think, what can I do now to reset myself? Maybe I'll think about my thank you list, or I'll look for something of wonder. I'll think what went well. I'll listen to an inspiring podcast. I'll think about something funny and help to rebalance my emotions so that by the time I go to bed, I am in a much more balanced state. Because when our brain is filled with more positive emotions when we sleep, our sleep is much more healing to us, and the difficult thoughts don't go into a pattern that can cause us to be more anxious and depressed. So it's a matter of perspective, really. You know, when we live our lives, we can focus on the dark and gloomy aspects of life, and there's plenty of those. Dark and gloomy aspects of ministry, life, all sorts of things, the news. We can focus on that, or we can take a step back, as you can see in this next picture, where the dark part was the very center of the path and the picture. But when we take a step back, the picture is filled with light and flowers and beauty. So we can choose to focus on the dark stuff, or we can take a step back and notice the beauty, light, and joy around us. We can think about the things that are pure, admirable, lovely, as Paul taught us, because it's so protective of our mind. It's our choice what we think about. And even though tough stuff happens, we can still choose to think about the positive things to help rebalance and reset our minds. That is something that we can do no matter what. And the more that we learn to do that, the easier and more natural it will be. And I found that in my life, that now my default is thinking about the positive things, choosing to dwell on them when I'm in a difficult situation, to help me stay balanced and stable and calm, and to experience God's presence in those moments. So I hope that something in here you're taking away to use, maybe 2 or 3 of the ideas. You can think, yes, I'll do that. You don't have to do everything every day. Just choose the positive emotions that work for you where you are. Give them a try for a week. See what happens. And if you'll find that it's helping you to rebalance and stay blessed and calmer, then just do more of it, and you will learn how to do it more easily. So it's my prayer for you that you will experience more of these positive emotions, these tastes of heaven that God has given us here and now to help us deal with the tough stuff that's around us in this broken world. Amen.